At 11:43 on a rainy Thursday night, Ethan Cole received a phone call from a house that had been empty for 12 years. He was alone in his Philadelphia apartment when his phone began vibrating across the kitchen counter. He looked at the screen and froze. The caller ID showed one word: home. It was the number of his childhood house in Millbrook, Pennsylvania. A house with no electricity, no occupants, and no working phone line. Ethan knew because he had personally disconnected that number 12 years earlier. Still, the phone kept ringing. Finally, he answered. Hello? Nothing. Only static. Then breathing. Slow. Unsteady. And finally, a voice. Ethan. The glass in Ethan's hand slipped and shattered against the floor. He knew that voice. Noah. His younger brother had disappeared 18 years ago. No body had ever been found. No confirmed sighting. Nothing. Yet Ethan would have recognized that voice anywhere. Noah, is that you? The voice returned. Older now, weak but unmistakable. Don't come home. Ethan's entire body went cold. What? Don't come home. Then Noah whispered, He knows you remember. The call ended. Ethan immediately called back. A recorded message answered. The number you have reached is no longer in service. By 2:20 that morning, Ethan was driving toward Millbrook. For 18 years, he had blamed himself for Noah's disappearance. He remembered their final argument. Noah had become secretive, asking strange questions about their father, Richard. That night, Ethan lost his temper. If you want to destroy your life, do it somewhere else. Ethan left. When he returned the following morning, Noah was gone. At least, that was how Ethan remembered it. At 3:37 a.m., he reached the abandoned house. Rain covered the windows. The porch was deteriorating. The rooms inside smelled of dust and damp wood. Everything appeared untouched. Until Ethan entered the kitchen. On the table sat a white ceramic mug. Steam was rising from it. He touched the mug. It was warm. Someone had been inside the house only minutes earlier. Then Ethan noticed footprints in the dust. They led directly toward the basement. Ethan followed the footprints downstairs. They ended beside his father's old metal cabinet. Behind it, Ethan discovered a loose wooden panel. Hidden inside the wall was a black box. Written across the lid were two words. Ethan, 2008. Inside were dozens of old family photographs. Someone had drawn a red circle around the same person in almost every picture. Ethan's father, Richard Cole. Beneath the photographs was an old cassette. Ethan found a recorder and pressed play. Static. Then Noah's 19-year-old voice filled the room. If Ethan ever finds this, Dad lied to both of us. Ethan leaned closer. I found something. I thought it was about Dad, but I was wrong. It's bigger than that. Then Noah said, if something happens to me, don't believe the police report. The recording stopped. At the bottom of the box, Ethan found one final item. A photograph taken outside a train station. The date printed on it was October 19th, 2008. Ethan stared at it. Noah had disappeared on October 16th. But in the background of the photograph was Noah. Alive. The next morning, Ethan visited Harold Briggs, a retired police officer who had worked Noah's disappearance. When Ethan showed him the photograph, Briggs immediately became uncomfortable. That house should have stayed closed, he said. Ethan demanded answers. Briggs finally admitted that a witness had seen Richard's car leaving the house at 2:14 on the morning Noah disappeared. Why wasn't that investigated? Briggs hesitated. Because we were told to stop. By my father, No. Briggs looked directly at Ethan. By someone else. Who? Briggs lowered his voice. I never knew. Ethan returned to Millbrook. This time he searched the basement carefully. Behind his father's workbench, he noticed the dimensions of the wall didn't match the exterior of the house. He removed a wooden shelf. Behind it was a door. The hidden room was filled with files, maps, photographs, and cassette tapes. Most were covered in decades of dust, but one desk had recently been disturbed. Someone else had been searching the room. Ethan opened a filing cabinet. Then he saw a folder marked Noah. Inside were train tickets, a false identification card, cash withdrawal receipts, and a photograph of Noah standing beside their father. The photograph was dated 2009, almost 1 year after Noah disappeared. Richard had known Noah was alive. Ethan continued searching. He discovered that his father had once worked as a private logistics contractor. Hidden among the documents were references to an old investigation. One set of initials appeared repeatedly. DM. Then Ethan found another recording from Noah. I thought Dad was hiding something he did. A pause. But he wasn't hiding what he did. He was hiding what he stopped. Noah explained that a man from Richard's past had discovered he was investigating. The files identified him only as DM. Then Noah said something Ethan wasn't prepared for. He didn't come for me. He came because of Ethan. Ethan stopped the recording. Why would anyone come for him? He knew nothing about his father's old life. Then he remembered something Briggs had asked him. Are you sure? Ethan replayed the memory of his final argument with Noah, and suddenly noticed something impossible. Sunlight had been coming through the kitchen window, but Ethan remembered the argument happening near midnight. He searched through an old box, then found a restaurant receipt. October 13th, 2008. Written on the back in Ethan's handwriting were 6 words. Dinner after the fight with Noah. Ethan stared at it. Noah disappeared October 16th. The argument had happened 3 days earlier, for 18 years. Ethan had been remembering the wrong night. Then fragments of another memory returned. Noah standing near the basement stairs. Ethan, I need to show you something. A stranger entering the house. A dark jacket. A ring on his right hand. Then a voice. You shouldn't have opened those files. Ethan remembered trying to stop him, his head striking a shelf. Then darkness, and his father's voice. You fell. Noah left. You didn't see anyone else. Again. And again. Until Richard's story became Ethan's memory. Inside the hidden room, Ethan found an envelope containing a key. Locker 214, Union Station. The next morning, Ethan opened the locker. Inside was Noah's old backpack and a letter. Ethan, if you found this, Dad is probably gone. I did not disappear because of Dad. Dad made me disappear because of you. The man who came to the house thought you knew where something was. But you didn't. Dad realized he would keep coming back, so he moved me. The final sentence read, if Dad was right, the moment you remember the basement, he will know. Ethan's phone immediately rang. Unknown number. He answered. A man said, you finally opened the locker, then hung up. Ethan raced back to the house. There, he found a recording his father had left specifically for him. Richard explained that decades earlier, he had discovered an illegal financial operation while working as a logistics contractor. He copied evidence and cooperated with investigators. But one man escaped prosecution. DM, Years later, DM came looking for the evidence. Richard ended the recording with one final clue. I hid it inside something you carried every day for 20 years. Ethan immediately looked at his wrist. The watch his father had given him after college. He opened its rear casing. Hidden beneath the mechanism was a tiny storage chip. He connected it to an old laptop. Hundreds of documents appeared. Then Ethan opened a folder marked DM. There was a photograph inside. Richard standing beside another man 30 years earlier. Ethan recognized the man immediately. Harold Briggs. Except his name wasn't Harold Briggs. Written underneath the photograph were two words. David Mercer. The retired police officer who had helped Ethan investigate Noah was the man his father had spent decades hiding from. Suddenly, the disconnected telephone upstairs began ringing. Ethan answered. "Hello?" Noah's voice. "Ethan, you found the watch. Where are you? Leave the house. Where are you, Noah?" Silence. Then, "Turn around." Ethan turned. A man stood in the doorway. Older. Gray beginning at his temples. But Ethan knew those eyes. Noah. His brother was alive. Ethan crossed the room and embraced him. For 18 years, Ethan had imagined this moment. But Noah didn't look relieved. He looked terrified. "We need to leave." "Mercer wants the evidence," Ethan said. Noah shook his head. "That's what Dad thought." "Then what does he want?" Noah stared at Ethan. "The reason Mercer came here in 2008 wasn't the evidence." "Then why?" "Because he thought Dad had told you the truth." "What truth?" Noah removed an old photograph. It showed Richard, their mother, David Mercer, and an 8-year-old Ethan. Written on the back, March 1990. Witness relocation intake. Ethan stared at it. Noah explained. When Ethan was 8 years old, he had witnessed Mercer commit a murder connected to the financial operation. Richard was already cooperating with investigators. But after the family's identity was leaked, Richard moved them and changed their surname. Ethan's traumatic memories were gradually replaced with another explanation. His mother's accident. Years later, Noah discovered the truth. And Mercer discovered Noah was investigating. Richard protected both sons the only way he knew how. One son disappeared. The other forgot. Outside, headlights appeared at the end of the road. "Mercer knows you remember," Noah said. They escaped through the back of the house carrying the files. 3 months later, federal investigators reopened multiple cases. Mercer disappeared before he could be arrested. Noah entered another protected identity, but Ethan finally had his brother back. The mystery seemed finished, until several months later. A package arrived at Ethan's apartment. No return address. Inside was a cassette. Ethan played it. His father's voice came through the speaker, but Richard had been dead for 6 years. "Ethan, if Noah is with you, don't trust the photograph." The recording ended. Ethan immediately called Noah. No answer. Then his phone vibrated. An unknown number had sent him a photograph of his apartment building, taken only seconds earlier. Underneath were 5 words. "You remembered the wrong brother." Ethan slowly picked up the old witness relocation photograph. Richard. His mother. Mercer. Young Ethan. Then he noticed something in the reflection of the window behind them. Another child. Standing beside Ethan. A boy who looked almost exactly like Noah. But Noah had not been born yet. Ethan turned the photograph over. Beneath the faded date were 2 names. Ethan Cole and Nathan Cole. Ethan stopped breathing. His brother's name was Noah. His phone rang. Unknown number. Ethan answered. Silence. Then a man whispered, "Now you're asking the right question." The line went dead. End.